Well, we're a few minutes after noon, so welcome to Friday Fam with Sherry Ratliff, Group Tour Manager at Visit Jackson. I'm Dave Bodle. Today begins with an interview session between Sherry and Jeff Gaduck, Premier Travel Media's publisher. They'll introduce all the reasons that Jackson, Mississippi amazes visitors. At the conclusion of the session, Sherry will be available for Q&A. You can enter your questions in the chat room. Please make sure you're muted, and if you could shut off your video, that would be great too. Jeff, let's get started.
Hi everybody, it's Jeff Gaduck here from Leisure Group Travel, and I'm excited to have with me today Sherry Ratliff, Tourism and Convention Sales Manager from Visit Jackson. Sherry, how are you doing today?
I'm good, and you?
Doing very good, thank you, thank you. So, Sherry, I'm really excited about today's virtual fam trip from history and heritage, world-class performance, stunning visual arts. There's just so much to see and do in Jackson. I've been there before. It's certainly one of my favorite places in Mississippi and all of the South. And I'm looking forward to as many of our audiences, I'm sure, listening and learning today about all there is to see and do for groups in Jackson.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So let's go ahead and get started over here. I know we've got a bit of a presentation we want to run through.
Yes. So Jackson, center of the South here, our civil rights movement and the Mississippi Freedom Trail are huge attractions here in Mississippi. The 8 galleries at the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum tell the story of Mississippi's place at the center of the national civil rights movement, and is the perfect place to be in your Jackson experience. In the heart of the museum, This Little Light of Mine gallery honors civil rights activists in music, light, and words. The moment is enriched as more visitors enter the gallery while the light gets brighter and the gospel music grows, uniting all that stand beneath. So it is really a moving experience when attendees go through the museum.
Nice. So that's obviously not the only museum in Jackson. What are some of the other cultural attractions that you guys have there that really tell the story of the civil rights and the Freedom Trail?
Definitely. The Museum of Mississippi History is adjacent to the Civil Rights Museum and explores 15,000 years of history. As you leave the museum complex, check out our Jackson icon murals on the side of the old Capitol Inn. It's a great spot for lunch too. Public art is widely celebrated throughout Jackson, gracing the walls, common spaces, and streets. So we tell attendees all the time to keep your eyes open as you walk the streets and travel throughout the city. And then also near the State Capitol building, the Smith Robertson Museum and Cultural Center. It celebrates the African-American experience through art, artifacts, and photography. The museum houses the Smithsonian Travel exhibition, which is Field to Factory, the Afro-American migration from 1915 to 1940.
Is that a permanent exhibit or is that a traveling exhibit?
It is a permanent exhibit, so it is a really huge piece here in Jackson that we're proud to have.
Nice, nice. Okay, so what about, am I pronouncing this right? Is it Tougaloo?
It is, it's Tougaloo
Okay.
College. And so Tougaloo is considered the cradle of the civil rights movement in Mississippi. Its Mississippi Civil Rights Collection features a collection of papers from the college and leading individuals from the movement. The off-campus Medgar Evers and Marilee Evers home of the slain NAACP field secretary, is now part of the National Park Service. So this just happened recently. In 2019 is when it was added to be a part of the National Park Service. Plans are in place to reopen the home and provide visitors with this particular tourist service.
Nice, nice. Okay. What about over at Jackson State University? I know it's home to my favorite football player of all time, Walter Payton.
Definitely, huge Walter Payton fan, and it's still girls strong here. So the campus of Jackson State University is home to Margaret Walker Center and the COFO Civil Rights Education Center. So while on campus, we encourage visitors to visit the Medgar Evers Library statue and the Freedom Trail marker there also.
Cool, cool. One thing I will vividly always remember on my visit to Jackson was the historic district visit. Was very, very telling. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So a visit to the Ferris Street Historic District is a must. This late 19th century neighborhood is on the National Register of Historic Places and represents 100 years of heritage in the African American community. So we check the renovated, we tell you you can check the renovated Alamo Theater for its schedule of performances. Enjoy lunch at Big Apple Inn and hear the unique stories of its founder and the four generations that have followed there at Big Apple Inn. So back in the day, the Crystal Palace nightclub hosted the likes of Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, now known as Johnny T's. There's still regular performances of legends and up and coming musicians. So we always encourage come for the music, stay for the exquisite dining also.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the Mississippi, I think one of the great things they've done as a state is the Freedom Trail markers that you'll find in signifying different historic spots. You've got a number of those throughout the city, if I'm not mistaken.
Most definitely. Yeah, so our the Mississippi Freedom Trail markers provide a tour of the state and the sites that are played. They played a key role in the civil rights movement also. The 10 Jackson markers that we have here in Jackson, Mississippi, they tell the story of the city's importance in the movement. Now in architectural office, the former Greyhound bus station was the last stop on the trail. The Megger and Murley Evers home is not currently open, but a photo presentation in the attached carport tells the story. Tours available at the Mississippi State Capitol. While the importance of Jackson State University and Tougaloo College have already been noted, much of the movement rose from the churches in the community.
Very nice. So, I live in Chicago, and the blues are a big part of our music scene here. Obviously, through this, it's been a pretty tough time, but Jackson has such a rich history with the blues as well. Can you talk about some of the historic artifacts as well as, what groups can see and do today?
Yeah. Much of our American has roots in Mississippi, and Jackson is in the middle of all of that. From country to blues and gospel with dozen Mississippi Blues Trail markers, it's easy to see why Jackson is the city with soul, of course. So you might meet your Malaco Records tour guide at the warehouse door. That makes sense since at any one time, they were the kings of gospel music, direct mail sales. It just seems natural that they moved to blues and soul. Walking the halls of this iconic recording company is a real treat. You'll be amazed at the musical awards gathered by this studio. Portraits of famous musicians who once recorded here line the halls. If you're in a singing mood and studio time is available, your group might be on its way to a hit.
Awesome. That would be a lot of fun to be able to participate in something like that. So you talked about the Ferris Street Historic District. Was it Trumpet Records that's down over there?
It is. So when in the Ferris Street District, visit the Trumpet Records marker and the tribute to Dorothy Moore in the Alamo Theater. Although Trumpet Records only existed for 4 years, they were very influential. Other places you'll find markers are for Bobby Rush, Cassandra Wilson at Brinkley Middle School, Ishmael Bracey at Jim Hill High School, and Otis Spann and Little Johnny Jones. Queen of Hearts restaurant is a must stop also. While the old Edwards Hotel was home to visiting artists and sat vacant for 40 years before becoming the King Edward Hotel. And then just up the street is a landmark Jackson Eatery and lunch and dinner favorite, the Mayflower Cafe. The Subway Lounge was in the basement of the Summers Hotel, Jackson's first Black-owned hotel. And don't forget about Scott Radio Service, one of the first in Mississippi to offer a professional recording studio.
Go ahead and do.
Trumpet used Scott for recording blues legends, gospel, and country performers.
So what about places that groups can go to today and experience live blues, obviously with social distancing or, as times get back to some degree of normal?
Yes, still social distancing and following those guidelines. But so built as the Armour Smokehouse in 1906, today the Iron Horse Grill is a landmark of Mississippi's music heritage. Begin your evening with the museum tour of the Mississippi Music Experience. The unique museum tour should be followed by a delicious meal featuring specialties and local favorites that might just become your new favorite. 3 nights a week, the music happens. It's magic when the stage comes alive with live musical performances.
That's awesome. That's a great way to catch either a legendary blues artist, I'm sure, or
Most definitely,
get some up and comers as well through that, right?
definitely right here.
So, another thing that I'll always remember about Jackson is the beautiful murals. And I had the mural background when we started this conversation, the City with Soul. I think that really exemplifies what you guys have there. Walk us through some of the other visual arts museums and such that groups can experience while they're in town.
Definitely. So the city's historic contributions to the civil rights movement and blues music do not overshadow modern day Jackson's vibrant art scene. Eudora Welty was the first writer to be honored on the Mississippi Writers Trail. The Eudora Welty House and Garden welcomes groups to the house, museum, and gardens. Margaret Walker Alexander was honored in July 2019. Take time to view her marker at the Margaret Walker Center at Jackson State University. And then located in downtown Jackson, Arts and Cultural District, Thalia Mara has a wonderful story to tell. Built in 1968 as the Municipal Auditorium, the Jackson Ballet Guild invited Thalia Mara in 1975 to develop a professional ballet company. The Chicago native with an extensive career of performances worldwide accepted the offer. Just 4 years later, she secured the International Ballet Competition. Jackson was named by the U.S. Congress the official U.S. home of the IBC and the only U.S. city to host the event. The event is held every 4 years, rotating between Jackson, Varna, Bulgaria, Helsinki, Finland, and Moscow, Russia. The hall provides citizens and visitors year-round opera and symphony performances, theater including a Broadway series, as well as concerts from a wide variety of local, national, and international performers.
Very nice. Now, question for you on the International Ballet Competition. When does that come back to Jackson? Do you know what year that is?
That was going to be, so they already developed it in 1975. And then years later we have it. I want to think this started in maybe 1986, but I'm going to check that. I could be wrong, but around the 1980s.
Yeah, no, so and we can skip that portion. Do you know what year? Because is it still scheduled to come back to Jackson? Is that a 4-year rotation?
So I would have to get that up and coming year.
Okay,
so every 4 years.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and
to
just
be
skip
certain,
that.
I'll definitely have to get that one, Jeff. I'd have to confirm. Yeah, I'd definitely have to confirm that I have the right date year.
Yeah, not a problem. We'll skip that portion of the interview. No big deal.
Okay.
So that's awesome, Sherry. So tell me about the New Stage Theater.
Yeah, the New Stage Theater produces 5 plays annually, in addition to a holiday show. The Unframed at New Stage Theater series attracts those interested in contemporary theater while providing artistic opportunities to emerging artists. So we have a lot of students, universities, and then group tours that actually partake of New Stage Theater when they're in the city.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else on the arts front that groups should be aware of?
Established in 1911 with a small collection, the Mississippi Museum of Art's collection is now approaching 6,000 objects. So that's pretty profound. And American art from the 19th and 20th centuries are featured. Prominent artists including Georgia O'Keeffe, Andy Warhol, Robert Henry, and the Radcliffe Bailey. Regular traveling exhibits also grace the walls of the museum. The adjacent 1.2-acre art garden has a welcoming lawn and seasonal foliage, native garden beds, permanent art installations, and water features. Groups are certainly welcome here. And then we have the Municipal Art Gallery. It's housed in a home that was built in the 1860s and is in one of the oldest thriving historical structures in Jackson. It's a place to enjoy American and Mississippi art while providing local artists a place to display their works. And then we have located in Jackson Arts and Cultural District, the International Museum of Muslim Cultures, which opened in 2001. The museum shares the beauty of the Muslim cultures throughout the world through artifacts and exhibits. The first major exhibition, Moorish Spain, its legacy to Europe and the West, has been joined by covenants and coexistence. The legacy of Timbuktu in the spirit of Ramadan. Personalized guided tours of the IMMC are available with advance notice. As the art district of the city, Fondren is the hub of owner-owned visual arts, unique boutiques and restaurant bars and bakeries. Each week, there's something happening in Fondren, like art openings, concerts, and more. The history is interesting and well worth a visit. Throughout Jackson, there are opportunities for unique shopping experiences.
It's certainly a lot of things to do for vultures while in
Definitely.
town. I'm dying to know the history of the International Museum of Muslim Cultures. I think that's got to be fascinating, relatively
really
new
is.
museum. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting find that I wouldn't expect down there. So definitely worth checking out.
Oh, most definitely. It's like one of the first in the Southeast, if not the first International Museum of Muslim Culture. So we're very proud to have that in Jackson.
Yeah, very, very cool. So I like to save the best for last, and certainly dining is a high priority on anybody's list these days. But groups more so than ever going to be looking for unique dining experiences. So share some of the local specialties that you guys have, and what makes it so unique.
Yeah, so Jackson is a unique place and gives the opportunity with over more than 350 restaurants in Jackson. Your group will certainly not go hungry. From the small mom and pop restaurants and diners to James Beard awarding winning local chefs, you'll find the perfect cuisine. In addition to the best Southern seafood, Cajun, Greek, Thai, barbecue, and tamales, don't forget the fresh pastries and charming coffee shops scattered throughout Jackson. So we're never short of great places to dine here.
Yeah, any particular favorites that you like to take groups to when they come in that
Oh man,
history?
in the South, definitely the soul food is amazing here. Our fried catfish is delectable. It's golden fried, crispy catfish and barbecue like no other here in Jackson.
Nice. So multiple locations for things like that, I would imagine.
Exactly. All over. We're just known for great Southern cuisine here in Jackson, Mississippi.
Soul is fire. From a slow simmer to a beautiful braise. Soul is sweet perfection and salty, spicy, saucy goodness. Soul is buttery smooth, melt in your mouth. And oh my. Discover our soul safely in Jackson, Mississippi, the city with soul.
Very cool. So before we turn this over to the Q&A section, how do groups get more information about coming into town? What's the best way to reach out to you guys?
Definitely. You can reach out to us through our website, visitjackson.com. And then we can also be reached at 601-345-2539. All social media outlets, which would be our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and look for Visit Jackson.
Awesome, Sherry. Great run through of what's going on in Jackson. Can't wait to get groups back on the road to visit your beautiful city again. Let's go ahead and open it up to questions.
All righty.
Yeah, we've got a couple here right off the bat, Sherry.
Yeah.
First one being, what are a few names of recommended restaurants for groups that specialize in Southern comfort food? We went through the dining fairly quickly, but can you give us some group-friendly Southern comfort food restaurants?
One that comes to mind very quickly and easily is Johnny T's. Johnny T's is located on Ferris Street. We see many tour groups that have actually done, if it's the Civil Rights Tour through Jackson, or if it's just any other outdoor exhibits or indoor exhibits to museums they visited, they may end up their tour day visiting Johnny T's. And Johnny T's has a specialty of Southern cuisine, from fried catfish to delectable seafood specialties, and then his barbecue is phenomenal. We have Sugar's Place. It's a downtown restaurant, and it's known for its soul food as well. Parlor Market downtown. Exquisite cuisine that you can partake of there in the downtown area with Parlor Market. And then we have it's called a food hall, a cultivation food hall. And in this food hall are a myriad of up and coming chefs that actually get their start in the food hall there. So you get a variety of different backgrounds of food in the food hall.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. One other question. When we were talking about the theaters,
Mhm.
what was the name of the theater again?
Are we talking Thyamara?
Yeah,
Our
both.
downtown, yeah, Thyamara, where the International Ballet Competition takes place. And so Thyamara is host to our any huge events that take place. If it's opera, it takes place there. Any theater productions take place at Thyamara. And so the International Ballet Competition will be back in Jackson in 2023. It actually takes place in Jackson June 10th through the 24th of 2023. So we're excited about that coming up.
Could you spell the theater for us?
Thalia, Thalia, Mara, Mara, 2 words, Thalia Mara.
I know the first time I heard it, I thought it was all one word until I saw the theater. I said, oh, okay.
I know.
I have one here is it's the CVB membership driven.
No, we aren't CPB membership driven, but we work with whatever request that you have for us. But yeah, no, we're not CPB membership driven.
Well, this might be some good news. Brenda Tidwell tells me there are 2 buses there today with a charter from a college. So
All right.
welcome to Jackson.
Definitely.
One other thing that we really didn't talk about in the presentation, hopefully to keep it on schedule. I know there's some great outdoor activities in the Jackson area, particular, I believe it's LaFleur Bluff State Park. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah, LaFleur's Bluff State Park is our state park here, located die hard in the central part of Jackson. We recently, and this is great news, recently opened up a museum trail. And so that museum trail starts in our downtown area at our 2 museums, right at the mouth of the 2 museums. And the 2 museums are going to be the Mississippi History Museum and then the Civil Rights Museum. They're both housed under the same facility. Very proud of that. But the trail starts there and it will actually go north. It's approximately 5 miles, 2.5 are now open, but it actually leads to our museum district, which has our Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. It has our Science Museum, our Agriculture Museum. So,
Cool.
yeah, it tons of walking space for groups and biking can be done on this trail.
Oh, wow. One other question. We have somebody from the Chicago area that wants to know what your weather is there and what's the best time of year to bring a group.
Today it's 65. Last week we probably were in the 40s. It varies here in Mississippi, where it's humid all the time, even when it's cold. I would say our perfect weather anytime from April up until December. These are our colder months, particularly January, February, and March. And then after that, it just kind of fares off for us. So we typically don't see, ice and snow. And when we get it, we pretty much shut down because we don't know what's due when it's here. But yeah, I would say anywhere April to December are good times for visiting here.
Okay, spring, fall.
Yeah, spring and fall.
All right. Are there any other outdoor trails, or just in case we want to get our new break them in a
If
little?
you want to do something fun, it's being located right next to the Pearl River. And of course, that's where LaFleur's Bluff came from, because one of the original persons that discovered Jackson, or actually explorer that established trading post, was on the Pearl River. And the Pearl River runs right next to our LaFleur's Bluff Park. And so one of the things is that river is called Pearl River. That Pearl River, you can do kayaking on the river, you can do picnics at the nearby lakes right there. And then at that Mississippi Ag Museum, which is a favorite of groups that come in. So it tells a story from the 1820s up until recent Mississippi. And so you get to walk through a rendition of a small town in Mississippi. It has its small town general store, a filling station, cotton gin, a sawmill. And so these exhibits are on display outside and inside, but definitely to walk outside is amazing.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think we have any other questions now. So unless somebody puts something in, I think we can thank Sherry very, very much for her time today.
Well, thank
And
you all
Jeff,
for participating.
thank you for leading the presentation. And thank you all who joined us for our Friday Fam and Visit Jackson. And I hope you have found that it truly is an amazing destination. Take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.